Hi again, and welcome to Boom and Gloom, a podcast where I talk about the boom, the good, and the gloom, the bad, of Columbus Blue Jackets hockey. I'm your host, Anthony. I go by Whaler Jacket in the world of social media, and I am Ohio's longest-suffering hockey fan. Lots to talk about today. I didn't mean to go this long between episodes, but life just gets in the way sometimes. The first thing I want to do is apologize, though. There were a couple of you with whom I connected on Blue Sky, who mentioned they'd like to come on the podcast as guests. I still want to make that happen, but I got home from work early today, finally had some free time to do this, so I decided to knock this episode out. So I didn't have time to plan for guests this time around. So, another time. So here we are. You're stuck with me solo. Let's start off with some positive stuff. The Jackets are currently sitting at a 500 record right now. And actually, I'm one of the sticklers who I consider overtime losses actual losses. So in my mind, they're just under 500. 9-9-2. Now, considering the Johnny Gaudreau tragedy, considering all the injuries, considering the adjustment needed for a new coach and a new system, I would say that the Jackets have been pretty successful so far this year. I mean, we did have that 6-game losing streak, but you know what? Even good teams go through slumps sometimes. Their record right now is admirable, hovering right around 500. But there are two things that stand out to me. Number one, they are playing inspired hockey. They are competitive. Each night, Coach Evison has them playing hard. Barring a few games, Winnipeg and Washington come to mind immediately. So barring just a few games, I never really considered them out of any of the games that they were playing. You know, they were always in it. I never felt like they were mismatched or just completely out of the game, impossible for them to win. Now, the West Coast trip was rough, but there are some statistics out there that suggest that they were the better team in some of those games. So they're playing hard. They're sticking to a system. They're playing united, and it's just great to see. But the number two thing that stands out to me, they're playing entertaining hockey. They are just fun to watch, win or lose. That Lightning game the other night, which I will talk about again, that was one of the wildest, most fun games I have ever watched. And I sincerely mean that. I really do. So with them being just fun to watch, that's one of the most important things there is. There were too many games last season where I just didn't care to finish. Like, I didn't care to finish watching the game. I would just turn it off. I would get frustrated and turn it off. Or I would not go out of my way to watch a game. Like, I wouldn't make watching the game a priority. This year, I don't want to miss a game. I'm seeing good things, entertaining things. And I guess from a business standpoint, you know, the NHL is a business. That's a good thing when customers are thoroughly enjoying the product. And right now, I am thoroughly enjoying Columbus Blue Jackets hockey. Now, last episode, I said that this team no longer felt different from previous seasons. Originally, I said, there's just something about this team. It feels different. And then last episode, I said it no longer feels different. Well, I am walking back that statement. I have that feeling again. When the Jackets were down 3-0 to the Lightning, I didn't just turn off the TV and walk away frustrated, confident that a loss was imminent. I did think about it, and I admit I did post about it. I predicted a loss on social media. But last season's Blue Jackets would have crumpled. They would have lost that game 6 or 7-0. But this season, this team is different. I kept watching that game, and it paid off. They battled back. They battled back slowly. They got it to 3-1 before the end of the first. Voronkov scored a goal almost immediately in the second, and they were back in it. One of the wildest games I've ever seen in my life. And the Jackets they're just a different bunch this season. Is this sustainable? Well, my gut tells me yes. But what I mean by that is that I think the Jackets can and will remain a just under 500 team. So that makes them an average team. And that may not sound great on the surface, but to me, and I think many other Blue Jackets fans, it's music to my ears. I've always said that this was going to be a season about healing and development. If they hover around 500 for the year, I'm happy with that. Higher draft picks be darned. At some point, we have to see this team make big strides with the high draft picks from previous seasons in our lineup. And that's what I believe we are seeing. Finally. So let's talk about one of those draft picks. Kent Johnson. Number 5 overall pick a few years ago. Injured the end of last season, and I had joked at the beginning of this season, I joked that when he had his surgery in the offseason, the doctors injected some liquid confidence into his body because he started the year on fire. Then, of course, came another injury. At the time of this recording, he has returned and played 2 games and picked up right where he left off. He had 2 goals in his return, the return game against Tampa Bay, and then 2 assists in the game against Carolina, and looking like he never left in both of them. I mean, he looked like he was picked up right where he left off. Well, okay, there may have been a little rust and maybe a bit of overconfidence, because I do happen to remember one blatant giveaway, but that was about it. Overall, he looked amazing. The day after the Carolina game, my son said to me, jokingly, "So, is Kent Johnson the best player in the NHL now?" Again, joking, of course, but the compliment was serious. Highly complimentary of a player that deserves the compliments. Okay, he is showing that he is becoming the dynamic player we hoped he would be. He's thriving in Dean Evason's system. Someone on Blue Sky, I won't mention his name because I didn't ask for his permission to use his name or his handle, but he said Pascal's misuse of KJ will go down as one of the greatest self-destructive moves by a coach ever. And I'm starting to buy into that idea. Even if it just partially had an effect on KJ's development. I mean, yes, all right, he's a year older now, but we've seen a huge difference I mean, he looks like a completely different player. I mean, he seemed to make that jump, that the jump that we all hoped he would. It's like we can now say Kent Johnson has arrived. And I'm so very excited about his potential and how the rest of the season plays out for him now that he's back and he's healthy. Fingers crossed, though, that he remains healthy. And let's talk about another recent high draft pick, David Jiricek. He was just sent down to the AHL Cleveland, the Cleveland Monsters, after the recent waiver acquisition of Dante Fabro. The writing was on the wall as soon as the Jackets made that waiver claim, maybe even earlier than that. And my take, this was the right move. Probably an overdue move. The kid needs to play. Before he was sent down, he was averaging, I think, 8 minutes a night. And he was only playing like once every 4 games. So that's not going to help him. That little ice time is not going to help him. He needs to play. And I trust the CBJ coaching staff and management when they say he's not ready. But I also trust my own eyes. And he's just not there yet. So let's let him play big minutes in Cleveland. Let him develop more and gain more confidence. And he'll be playing right along with Denton Matejchuk. Maybe build some chemistry there for the future. But here's my take, okay? Perhaps controversial, maybe not, because there's a lot of talk going on about this right now. Do not trade him. If the Jackets trade him, I can almost guarantee you he will become a stud. He will become a superstar. I just have that feeling because I have been through it once before as a fan of the Hartford Whalers. The Whalers drafted a young guy, you may have heard of him, Chris Pronger. Pronger played the equivalent of a season and a half in Hartford before he was traded to the St. Louis Blues for Brendan Shanahan. Now, I was a high school kid at the time, and I remember being ecstatic. No, was I high school? No, I think I was a freshman in college. Yeah, I was a freshman in college, and I was just ecstatic that my favorite team acquired Shanahan. And all we had to give up, quote unquote, all we had to give up was Chris Pronger. Boy, was I young and stupid. Pronger ended up becoming an NHL superstar, Stanley Cup winning defenseman. Shanahan, by the way, lasted 1 season in Hartford before being traded to Detroit for Keith Primo and Paul Coffey. But Pronger became a stud. And it wasn't long before I realized the Whalers gave up on him too quickly. This is what I see with Jiricek. I mean, I think he's just about to turn 21. I mean, he's still very young. I see a dude who has loads of potential, but just needs more time to develop and figure things out. So why rush him? So unless the return is overwhelmingly awesome, you don't trade the guy. You don't give up on him just yet. Okay, and I understand that Jiricek was a Yarmo pick. Okay, he was not a Waddell pick. So Waddell may have a completely different view of him. And I understand that. But I also think that they need to understand that he might need more time. And giving up on him can come back to bite them in the butt. I mean, look what happened with Kent Johnson. And I know I've been bringing up Kent Johnson a lot, but I think he deserves to be brought up. He almost suddenly seemed to put it all together. And I expect the same could happen with Jiricek. So unless the player is unhappy, disgruntled, and requests to be traded, don't trade him. I don't want him to be another Chris Pronger. Chris Pronger was an incredible defenseman, but do you know who else has been an incredible defenseman this season? Our very own Zach Werenski. Wow. Okay, has this guy elevated his game to another level or what? I think we are seeing Zach really grab onto superstar status this season. I mean, he's been just so fun to watch, especially that 5-point night he had against Tampa Bay. I shouted so loud, the neighbors probably heard me when he scored that goal in overtime. He's been a true leader this season for a team that's missing their captain. You know, Werenski seemed to put the team on his back that game. Love to see it and hope he can continue this play for the remainder of the season and well beyond. And I actually just saw before I started recording, that he was named the NHL's first star of the week. So congratulations to him, well deserved. Next, I want to talk about something that may hurt some feelings. I love all the Blue Jackets, but there always seems to be a player or two that I love the least. Players like Matt Fratton, Rene Bourque, Brett Lebda, and even Alex Wenberg. Okay, what's the other guy's name? I can't remember. Novotny, Yuri Novotny. There's another one. But like even Alex Wenberg has held that distinction. Just I can't help it. It's just the way my mind works. There's always at least one player who I think to myself, I wouldn't mind if he was healthy scratched for a while, or I wouldn't mind if they traded him. A player who I watch and his mistakes seem to jump out at me more than any other player. I believe I mentioned this before. Damon Severson. His inconsistency and decision-making abilities, or lack thereof, it drives me nuts. Now, I admit I did not get to watch very much of the Hurricanes game, but I watched the highlights, and not surprisingly, I noticed that 2 of the Canes' goals were a result of a poor decision by Damon Severson. Yes, the dude has some offensive upside, but I can't bring myself to say, man, Damon Severson is a real asset to this team. Especially with his contract. And and we have him for what, 6 more seasons? But I have to say, Jack Johnson is also not a huge favorite of mine. I wouldn't be heartbroken in the slightest if he were traded. And Elvis as well. Just wanted to round out my list of least favorite Jackets before I moved on to my next segment. So there you have it. And my next segment is all about our current lineup. I have to ask, okay, do we have a really good fourth line? Because I want to say we do. The combination of Sean Corrali, Justin Danforth, and Zach Aston Reese, I feel they played really well. They're just what you'd ask. You just would. I said that wrong. They're all you could ask for from a fourth line. And I thought it was telling that they were put out there with under 4 minutes to go in a tie game against the Lightning. My knee-jerk reaction when I saw that was, "What are you thinking, Dean Evason? We need a goal right now." But how dare I second-guess Mr. Evason, the guy I emulated in high school and who I regard as my favorite player of all time. Because not only did that line shut down the Lightning when they needed to, but they also generated a couple of scoring chances themselves. So yeah, I have to say, I really like our fourth line right now. But that creates another minor issue. A lot of times, your fourth line is where you have your candidates to swap out for your extra forward who has been a healthy scratch. But this line is playing too well to break them up. So you look at the third line. You have Sillinger, Chinnikov, and Olivier. Nope, I don't want any of them to sit out right now. So then you have to look at your second line. Johnson, heck no. Fantilli, although not playing at the level we want him to play at right now, I don't think he should be removed from the lineup. And then you have LeBanc and Van Riemsdyk. So there you have it. That's who the Jackets have been swapping in and out of the lineup. While I understand this, I don't like this. I want Fantilli and Johnson to develop more chemistry with their line mate. And rotating LeBanc and JVR is not conducive to that. So it's a tough call. LeBanc has been putting up good offensive numbers in fewer games than most players. He is currently 6th on the team in points. And by the way, guess who is tied for 7th? Kent Johnson in only 6 games. I mean, that's amazing. But back to LeBanc. So I don't want to take him out of the lineup because of his speed and his offensive upside. But I don't want JVR to come out of the lineup either because of his net front presence and his experience. So I don't want either of them out, and I don't want them to rotate. There really is no good solution right now. Don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful that the Jackets forwards are healthy right now, with of course the exception of Boone. And that just makes me, I kind of shudder to think what will happen when Boone returns and everyone else, if everyone else is healthy and no trades have been made. I mean, where does Boone slot in? Who comes out then? So thankfully that is a long ways away right now, and a lot can happen between now and then. But these things just make me wonder, and I am not happy that we have to rotate LeBanc and JVR. I want somebody more steady, but I understand the desire to have both of those players in the lineup. So kind of a double-edged sword, and I can't offer any better solutions, unfortunately. And my last topic of the day, Cayden Lindstrom, the Blue Jackets prospect who recently had back surgery to hopefully fix whatever needs fixed and get him back on the ice, back to development, back to his junior hockey team. I will admit, all right, I heard all the concerns about his back when the Jackets drafted him. But I trusted the team doctors. I trusted what management was saying. I am sure, I'm positive he was examined thoroughly and had his medical records thoroughly analyzed by multiple doctors. The professionals in the medical field said he'd be okay. He was safe to draft. And I bought into all of that. But now I am not so sure. I mean, he's still not back on the ice. And now he had to have an additional surgery. Aaron Portzline, in his recent Sunday gathering, wrote about Lindstrom's issue, and he even included a dialogue that he had with a surgeon, Dr. Elizabeth Yu, regarding the type of surgery that Lindstrom had. And the surgery is called a lumbar microdiscectomy. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but it doesn't sound fun. And apparently, it involves removing a herniated portion of a disc, which in turn relieves pressure placed on a nerve, and that alleviates leg pain associated with it. There were two answers the doctor gave that stood out to me and caused me some concern. So the first was, she said that it has a 90% success rate, with 9 out of 10 patients experiencing improvement of nerve pain. I may be reading too much into this, but first of all, that means 10% of patients have unsuccessful surgery. There's a 10% chance that this surgery that Lindstrom had was unsuccessful. And she didn't say the pain would go away. She didn't say the pain would be eliminated after the surgery. She said it would be improved. So does that mean this kid is going to have pain the rest of his life, or for the rest of his hockey career? I don't know about you, but that worries me. I don't want an 18-year-old kid to start his professional hockey career with less pain. I want him to start it with no pain. And then the other answer she gave that I found alarming, Aaron Portzline asked, how concerned would you be about the overall health of a person's back if this surgery is required at 18 years of age? Her response? Counseling patients on the importance of a healthy back and proper body mechanics is something that is relevant regardless of age. That did not really answer his question. It almost seemed like she avoided a direct answer. Almost as if AP wouldn't like the response, or like we fans would not like the response. Again, maybe I'm overthinking this, but this worries me. Why couldn't she just say something like, no, age is irrelevant to the surgery? Or, because he is so young, he is more likely to make a full recovery. No, she didn't say that. She didn't say that at all. It seems like she diverted or deflected, almost to say, yes, the fact that he is only 18 years old and wants to start a professional hockey career, that is very concerning. I mean, almost like she said, yeah, he may very likely experience symptoms for the rest of his hockey career. I don't know. The fact that she did not say the pain would be eliminated, just improved, that bothers me. I'm probably overthinking, okay? Probably reading into this too much, but I was not concerned about the Jackets drafting an injured player until now. It would be just the Jackets' luck for their number one draft pick to have an injury much more severe than they thought, or much more severe than they were led to believe by the doctors who examined him. And wouldn't that be just a Blue Jackets thing to do? All right, that's about it for now. we're still waiting on an official announcement or even some leaks regarding the Blue Jackets Stadium Series jersey. And I am a jersey fanatic, an aficionado maybe. One of my favorite websites is Aesthetics. They discuss all the fine points of NHL jerseys and oftentimes are the first ones to leak jerseys or draw attention to a leak, make public a leak. If you've never checked them out, I highly recommend it. It's aesthetics.com. Actually, it might be something else. Just Google Aesthetics. It might have a slightly different address. But because of that, because of my love for jerseys, I'm very much looking forward to what the Jackets come up with. Bracing myself for disappointment because these outdoor game jerseys have been hit or miss, at least for me, over the years. And I've heard some people saying that they hope they decide to go with like an Ohio State versus Michigan theme, especially considering they are playing the Detroit Red Wings. But I'm not sure how they can pull that off because the Michigan Wolverines are blue and the Ohio State Buckeyes are red. Are they going to switch colors? I don't see that happening. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. Nor do I want to see the Blue Jackets wearing red and the Red Wings wearing blue. Just doesn't make sense. But crazier decisions have been made with NHL jerseys over the years, so you never know. But one thing I do hope to see at that game, and I am going March 1st, by the way, one thing I do hope to see is Boomer. Gotta bring back Boomer for this special occasion. I think we may have to start, as fans, a petition to have Boomer return for the game. It would be just a massive hit amongst fans. I mean, who doesn't want to see Boomer again? And if you don't know who Boomer is, if you're, I don't know, a younger Blue Jackets fan and don't know a whole lot about the mascot history of the Blue Jackets, do yourself a favor and Google it. Look up Boomer. You will be pleasantly surprised and or horrified at the same time. So with that, I will sign off. And I do apologize again to the people who said they would come on to my show as guests today. I was just, it was just too much to organize short notice. I had some free time and I wanted to churn out this episode, get it recorded, get it published. So perhaps another time, rain check, please. Feel free to connect with me on social media. Find me on Instagram or Blue Sky. I am Whaler Jacket, Whaler Jacket. Find me there. Blue Sky has become my social media platform of choice, and I hope to see more and more of you fellow CBJ fans on there in the near future. Goodbye for now, and go Jackets.